Hello, welcome to Frank's School. This is the East Village of the Camp Ranch campus. That's the pond actually you're looking at. And over there, that's a whole other story. I've tried to limit myself with the buildings that I'm doing to a line right about there. So I'll talk about this. This complex of buildings, incidentally, I'm standing on top of the Beast, directly over the fire door. I'll show you what that looks like later. Back down there, the building with the palace leaning in, that's the one that I just referred to as being where I'll put highly flammable things. That building and that building, I'll probably take down to waist height. I'll certainly will, before I build any higher, because I've found a way to make them more stable, always for very little money. That's the bathhouse proposed, although there may be competition, and that's the laundry. In between the two, I will have a place big enough to burn entire pallets to heat water, and a hypocaust. You might have to look that up. The Romans know about that. There's the pump house. That's going to be the pump house. And I noted just before that the water has finally, I noticed it just today, that the water has begun to come again from the mountain. All right, back to the pump house. Over there, there's material on there. It doesn't matter that it's out to the weather because it's polyester or something, but I'm going to use it in the garden. But that's going to be the pallet saw. Those two buildings there, now that should be covered. I'm sorry about that. That's a corn sheller, and it should be covered. And right below it is a burr mill, and they had heavy use this year from my neighbor Nelson's ear corn that he and his family picked. Heavy use, and before we do that again, I'll have them fixed up and ready to go and in good shape. With the all of these buildings will be have the second story on and roofed. Eventually, and all of them potentially driven by a water wheel. I changed my mind. I was going to put that water wheel right there between those four buildings, but I think I'll use the water wheel underneath that mill house or the powerhouse and use a drive or a line shaft to take the power over there. All right, let's see. I like to go in this direction. So all of this wood is waiting to be burnt in the Beast, where the pallets may be disassembled. The metal that's there is going to be used for reinforcing in the concrete hypocaust there. The fumes from that, the exhaust, will go up just past that walnut tree and come to right about where I'm standing. And let me see if I can turn and eventually go up that chimney, which I'll rework. All right, now let's see. This is going to be a place for storing glass, window glass that can be cut right there. And all of this wood is destined to go into the to make charcoal out of it, which I'll show you in a moment. Right about there is where I'm going to put a machine, I guess I'll call it, for grinding glass. As a matter of fact, this area right here will have two. It's going to be about glass and it's going to be about clay. I have enough, I think, to be able to make what's called a pug mill for mixing clay and maybe mixing glass, ground glass, into the clay. All right, I'm going to swing around here. This is the fire's place, I call it. There's going to be a windmill on top of that. That's the hammer hut. That big wheel is for a flywheel. I'll show you this from down below in just a little bit. I'm trying to not move. And that's going to be for making charcoal. And that frame from underneath a trailer will come over and go over it, and the heat given off by those two chambers, which I'll fire alternately, will be kept under a floor, just like the heat where I am, and then the exhaust and the heat ultimately will go up that chimney. All right, I'm going to go down and show you what this looks like from below, before I close this out. But bye for now. Maybe if I show you that leaning pallet where I'm going to store glass, that'll orient you. Right there is where I was just standing. And I'm going to do a sort of a walk by. I can buy these blocks. They're seconds. They're 12-inch. Well, some are 10 for $1 a piece. And what I've found is that I can use them as corners and then knit stonework, always without mortar. I just almost never use mortar. Knit the stonework into the corners. I'm sort of walking by. This is all tumbled because we just so recently did this. That's where the charcoal will be made. My fire brick supply from before. And what else to show you from this angle? I guess maybe those two smaller barrels stacked on top of each other, they're going to be the outside skin of a cupola furnace. I am now beginning to believe I'll actually be able to do this, to melt and cast iron with charcoal that comes from that. And I changed my mind. I had to redo this because instead of generating charcoal the indirect way, I'm going to do it the direct way. I think that's going to be the air supply underneath. All right, maybe I'll just keep filming as I walk here. I had said, well, this is all too complicated to explain. Really, I'll just tell you a little bit. That's going to be the anvil in the center. It's hard to move that thing. Right in the center of the hammer hut. There'll be a forge there, a very, very large forge. Here, a place big enough to build to burn an entire pallet or a stack of 3 or 4 at a time. But for flat, this is cast iron, the stuff that's on top of it. Let me say for grilling, I guess. Here's the mouth of the beast. Right up there is where I was just standing. This will be symmetrical. Of course, I'll relay these posts and get them plumb before I lay them. But this is going to be for kettles of various kinds. That's the wood destined to be charcoal. And there's kind of my collection of kettles. All right, I think I'm going to stop now and then go to the next video. One more thing. There is what I think of as a pretty chicken. I thought I had lost her. I call her Schöne now, beauty. She wasn't there. There's the mother of the 4. I don't know where the other white one is right now, but isn't that a beautiful chicken? Competition from that sister. She's also remarkably pretty, I think. Oh, there's the other white one. So the whole family's here.